Hello, everyone. Jason Hagholm here, and welcome to this live stream here on my YouTube channel, and now as well live on my Twitter as well. As look, once again, this is another big weekend in the realm of mixed martial arts. Even bigger week overall when you look at the big spectrum that pretty much every major promotion in MMA is either had a show or having a show this weekend. Ryzen had a show early Wednesday morning. One Championship just finished up a show as well. And of course, there's a UFC. There's Bellator in literally an hour's time from tonight, and a PFL Challengers card tonight, and of course the UFC on Saturday night. So let's go ahead and just get into this. But first of all, if you like these, definitely like, rate, subscribe, leave a comment, helps the channel grow. And definitely, doing this for you. If you want to help grow this channel, it would help me out a lot. Definitely hit that subscribe button, especially on the YouTube side of thing. And you know what? Because I like to do these for you. I like to bring my opinions, but hey, just came up and like to see this channel grow. Even got a comment here early. Thanks to my boy Andre Easy, aka Murph. Just came to show some love. Just got off work, going to bed. Enjoy the sleep, but thank you for supporting as always, Andre. You know what? Definitely as well. The beauty of these live streams is they're available on demand. So, Andre, when you wake up, you can definitely tune into the thoughts after the fact. If you get in a Bellator before that as well, you get to compare it as well. So, enjoy the sleep, but thank you for always supporting the channel. But yeah, this is a big weekend, as we said, here in the realm of mixed martial arts. And, while Bellator is in an hour, let's, I guess, talk about Bellator going forward here. The main event of this card in Ireland is Gegard Mousasi defending the Bellator Middleweight Championship against the undefeated Austin Vanderford. This is, I think, a very compelling and interesting fight. We've seen Vanderford pretty much grow as a fighter inside the Bellator cage. I think he was really the only real challenger that could have been given to Mousasi at 185 pounds. You look at what he's done in Bellator, pretty much all decision victories. So he's got a gas tank that can go 3 5-minute rounds, and as well probably the distance to go the full 25 minutes in a championship fight. But he's beaten some good guys, and he's not only just beaten some good guys here in Bellator, he's kind of battered them up or showed his toughness in taking some serious damage, especially in that Fabian Edwards fight, where he had a nasty cut in that fight when I had to push on through and was still dominating the fight, getting the fight to the ground, landing ground and pound, controlling the position, and Edwards really couldn't stop the takedowns at all. And that's the one thing Vanderford has going from that high-level wrestling, that high-level grappling. And you're going to need all of that, maybe even to mix in a little bit of the strikes here up against one of the most underappreciated middleweights in the history of mixed martial arts here in Gegard, the dream catcher Mousasi. 48-7-2, over 50 professional mixed martial arts fights, now the Bellator middleweight champion, and pretty much a champion everywhere he has been in mixed martial arts. Champion now in Bellator, champion in Strikeforce, was the dream middleweight Grand Prix champion back in 2008 with an unbelievable upkick finish against Jacare Souza back in the day. Competed in Pride. I mean, this guy has been everywhere. He has seen anything and everything. And he's just, once again, facing a young up-and-comer that looks to showcase his skills and find a way to take the title off him. And I think you got to implement the game plan that a King Mo did back in the Strikeforce days, when King Mo took that middleweight championship off of Mousasi at Strikeforce Nashville, where you use the wrestling, you go and you control the positioning, and you as well, gotta, get in some scrambles and win those top positions, and as well look for some submissions as well, as Mousasi, what we've known Mousasi to do. I mean, this is a guy that can ground and pound you when the fight gets to the ground. He's got a gas tank, obviously, that can win a decision and make it close, win decisions, but has some really good strikes with some TKOs via strikes or knees. So this is, and once again, a guy that's seen pretty much anything and everything, fought anyone and everyone. And he's just only, seems like he's getting better. And I think this is also kind of the run here for Mousasi, where he wants to showcase that legacy that he's arguably one of the greatest middleweights to ever step inside an MMA cage, whatever promotion he's been in. He's not getting the respect, and he didn't get the opportunity to fight for a UFC middleweight championship. There's certain reasons probably why that was, and UFC maybe didn't think he was the most exciting style, but he's definitely one of the most talented guys out there. And I think he wants to go out, put on a great show, and put away another young up-and-comer here in Vanderford, who this would be, if Vanderford does lose, the first loss of Vanderford's career. But this would be, I think Bellator's in a win-win situation with whoever comes out with the championship. Mousasi wins. Look, you're building the legacy of a guy that hasn't gotten his respect. He's trying to take that respect, earn that respect here in Bellator. But if Vanderford wins, and I don't want to say upset, but I guess it would be a small upset, especially where you've only had 11 pro fights and haven't fought anyone the caliber of Mousasi and Vanderford's sake. It's a win for Bellator. Like, he's a young, solid fighter, a guy that the Contender Series passed on. You've capitalized, you've swooped in, you've signed him, but you still got the Paige Van Zandt element where he does bring some of that eyeballs to your product. Obviously, it's not Paige in there who is, the queen of getting eyeballs for everything she does outside of combat sports, but you are affiliated with that. You would get Paige probably on television as well. So you get a little bit of that rub and bring those eyeballs on there. And he's kind of rebuying into the Mr. Van Zandt kind of mentality, which I think in a way does help him a bit in Austin Vanderford. He's a unique, interesting character. So why not buy into that? Anything that helps with someone getting eyeballs in the sport, and you're, married to this person, that just only bodes well for him. So I think Bellator is, like I said, they're in a win-win situation with whoever comes through and is the champion after this main event today at Bellator 275. And I love that these cards for Bellator, this card in particular, in Ireland, but we're going live with this card because that was the big gripe about Bellator in the past, is when they'd go international, whether it be Ireland, England, Israel, they'd be tape delayed. And look, the tape delayed cards, they, for the most part, weren't great, other than the fact of like that James Gallagher win with Conor McGregor hopping in cage. I know that did a great rating for them because Bellator could already kind of tweet out some of the video, or people that were watching the show live in Ireland had tweeted things out, and it got Bellator a bump. But look, it's 2022. You want your product to be live. Unfortunate for how early the start is here in the East Coast, a noon start on the East Coast. But I think you have to be live. There will be a replay. And look, live is the best. And, you can follow along, check in on your lunch break. And the main card, I think, starts at like 3:00. So some people are probably just getting off work. And that's a good amount of time as well to get your fights going in and setting the tone as well. And plus, Ireland is such a great audience for Bellator. They've really built that market as a key area for them to grow their product in Europe. And the crowds have been amazing, especially the last time out. Unfortunate for this card, it did lose the Peter Queally fight, because the last time Peter Queally fought and lost that vacant lightweight championship fight, that sucked for Peter Queally and the Irish fan base, but the crowd was insane. The walkout was unbelievable. And I know this card will be hyped. There are a lot of Irish fighters on this card. And then you look at that co-main event in Leah McCourt and Sinead Kavanagh. That's a pretty big fight as well for that women's 145-pound division. Kavanagh just coming off the Chris Cyborg title opportunity where things didn't go her way. Leah McCourt is someone that is, from Northern Ireland. You got that traditional in Ireland rivalry, and she's looking to go out and have the best performance of her career and really get herself in the mix to fight Cyborg for that women's featherweight championship, because now the contenders really there are contenders there, as we've touched on, but, we thought Kat Zingano for sure would be fighting Chris Cyborg coming up, but she opted to not take that fight. She's fighting Pam Sorensen in a few weeks at Bellator on the prelims. And I mean, Pam Sorensen's another player there at women's 145. But if you want a European to step through and be, showcase why she's a solid prospect here at 6-1, Leah McCourt getting a win over the very durable Sinead Kavanagh would be very impressive. But I think Kavanagh would need an impressive finish here to really throw herself back in the mix. But that's what makes the Bellator women's 145 division kind of that much more interesting, with them hoping that they can get the Kayla Harrisons of the world to sign on and be a part of the promotion, because that just adds a star power and a talented fighter to the division. But Kayla hasn't signed. We hope she makes a decision soon whether she's going to stay in PFL or go to Bellator. Hopefully for Bellator's sake, I think they get her. But yeah, that's the co-main event today is a good one for Ireland in that market. And a contender or someone moves up the rankings to get back into fighting Chris Cyborg. With Kavanagh, you need a big finish. Leah McCourt gets a win here, 7-1, and wait and see what happens against Pam Sorensen and Kat Zingano. Brett John's on this card as well. Brian Moore, Jornel Lugo. That's a very interesting fight at 135 pounds in Bellator. So this is a pretty good card, and Bellator they've really established themselves as not only trying to make a run at what they can do in North America, but they're doing these shows all through Europe. They have Ireland, and then once May hits, they got the show in their second show in Paris, France, and then of course London, England, with Amosov defending against Michael Venom Page, that welterweight championship. So Bellator's really sunk in their fruits, their anchors into Europe, and I guess they're trying to see if that eventually does pay off for them going forward here in 2022, as this is going to be a big time for Bellator in that market. They've spent the time investing. We'll see how it continues to pay off for them. The crowds have usually been great there, so that is a big win for Bellator going forward. And then, as we transition to, I guess let's talk a little PFL, I guess. PFL Challengers 2. Week 2 here of the Challengers series. The welterweights will be at stake here. And I guess before we look into this card, obviously week 1 was last week, and a lot of thoughts to be had here on the PFL Challenger series. Look, I thought the fights, and the fighters that they had on those cards, I thought there were some good fighters. I just didn't like certain aspects of the presentation of it. Like the PFL, once again, their pacing is just atrocious. There's 4 fights on this card. We don't need to drag it out. We don't need to, after the first fight, and teeing up the second fight, we don't need to look at the highlights of the first fight. We can move on and move things forward, going and teeing up the second fight. I didn't think the use of the celebrity panelist was that great. I wasn't expecting Ray Lewis to be so, lovey-dovey to every fighter. Didn't really, give a criticism or anything. Was very appreciative of all that. And look, I get, it's not your world, but I honestly thought a little bit of something different than just everyone being like, yeah, that was great. Was good. Like, you need a little conflict or disagreement from the judges or something. And just the layout of how they announced who they were going on through. Like, they brought 2 fighters up, and we thought, oh, those are going to be the 2 finalists. And then they passed on them, one of them being Josh Silvera, which I think is a big miss for the PFL. But hey, we shall wait and see what happens in that young man's career, still very young. But how they did that, then we went to a commercial break. We brought up the 2 fighters, teed up what we thought of them, went to another commercial break, came back. Then it was, what did the celebrity panel think, or the judges panel think, and then the online vote. Well, it's just too long, too drawn out. And for a 4-fight show, I don't think we needed to go as long as it did before. Hopefully PFL learns from it. We have the same panel tonight as we did last week: Tyron Woodley, Jeremy Piven, and Ray Lewis. So hopefully they do find a way to make it a little bit more interesting with those and with those three in that aspect. I thought Woodley was actually probably the best panelist, obviously a former mixed martial arts champion in the UFC, and obviously this is his world, but I wanted something more from a Ray Lewis or a Jeremy Piven. I don't know. I thought Piven, he was definitely a miss, and Ray Lewis was a miss as well. Hopefully they bring it a little bit more if they're going to continue to be on for the majority of these being panelists. But then when you look ahead to this week's card, it's, as we said, the middleweights going on here, and my goodness, you want to talk about a way not to make an impression. And when you look at the main event here between Jarrah Hussein Al-Sawi taking on Michael Lilly, both guys missed weight by like a ridiculous amount of weight. Like Lilly came in, he weighed at 176, and Al-Silowi, he weighed in at 175 pounds. So it's now a catch weight at 177 pounds. And look, it's not a good look when you're trying to get a contract in a major promotion and you miss weight by a good amount of weight that they have to make it a catch weight. Did not like to see that. I think the fight should be okay. There's two prospects that unfortunately I think are fighting each other that have a good chance of getting the contract. Mark Martin, 7-1. We saw what he could do coming from the MMA lab, spent some time in the LFA, had some real solid performances in the LFA, had a win back in Combate at the end of 2021. A guy that can, ride you out, use that wrestling background. He did spend time at Ohio State wrestling there. So, the success that program's had transitioning fighters into the world of MMA, Kevin Randleman, Mark Coleman. So, legends of the sport. Not saying that Mark Martin can be a legend of mixed martial arts, but he's definitely got the perfect foundation to get in there. And training at the MMA lab at Phoenix, like I said before, the MMA lab, they've done a great job of turning, natural high-level NCAA wrestlers into high-level mixed martial artists in their time there. Very impressive with what that gym has been able to do going forward and turning those fighters into that. Obviously, we remember Ryan Bader back in the day coming from there, and it's still Bader doing big things. And it's a gym with a lot of good talent guys like Kyle Guns Up Stewart still there, Brandon Barberina, Sugar Sean O'Malley, Bruce Lee Roy. You get the picture, and of course Benson Henderson as well. But taking on Delano Taylor. Taylor's the former Titan FC welterweight champion. He won the title back in May over Carlos Matos. And since then, he had one title defense. It was a close fight against Marcus Edwards, but he got the nod via split decision. I think this is a really talented fighter coming out of Florida, Jamaican heritage. When you look what he's done, 4 out of his 7 wins are decisions, but these are two guys that tend to go the distance. And it can go again, so they've got the gas tanks. I think Martin may use that wrestling and have that be a little bit of an advantage. But don't forget, Taylor can, keep it on the feet and has a good handful of submission victories under his belt. He's got an Ezekiel choke finish and as well a rear naked choke finish as well. And if he can find a way to counter on a shoot in as well, look for Taylor to get look for a KO. But I think it's going to be a really talented fight between two of the better prospects at 170 pounds that are getting this opportunity here on the PFL. And while I ragged on what the PFL I thought could improve on, I still love the concept of this. PFL needs to get their own talent and invest in them going forward as their regular season's like literally about a month away from starting. So, and you're investing in talent, and that's the name of the game, and talent that you can call your own homegrown talent. They've had the success of that with guys stepping up on those normal PFL shows. Why not invest into have a back line of those guys? And as well, I want to give a shout out to Corey Cup, who's stepped in, like literally went there in the case of something happens to one of the fighters. Well, something does happen to one of the fighters. Carlos Leal loses his opponent. And now he steps in on like literally 24 hours notice, makes weight, weighs in at 170 pounds, which is very impressive. And I guess a lesson for the guys fighting in the main event. And, he's now looking to get an opportunity to come on through and be in the PFL when considering this guy's he's bounced around between welterweight and middleweight before, fought on the Contender Series in 2020 at welterweight and returns to welterweight for the first time since that Contender Series fight. And I just want to give a big props to that. That's being a professional, taking advantage of an opportunity, making championship weight, and now all he's got to do is just showcase his skills in the cage and do the fun stuff here against Carlos Leal tonight on the PFL Challengers Series 2. And you know what? Like I'm saying, I like that the things I like that they're investing in talent. I like that each show is one weight class. It's tough when they got to give one contract away. And the only thing about these types of shows I don't like is if you have a spectacular finish, you're pretty much getting a contract. And I don't think that says a lot about the quality of a fighter. Like, if you look at last week's show for the PFL, I mean, they gave a contract away to, the fighter there in Brucey Soto, who had a flying knee. Granted, unbelievable highlight reel, but does that say how talented he is as a fighter going on forward? And can he hang in that light heavyweight tournament where you have a Josh Silveira who was a light heavyweight champion in the LFA, middleweight champion in the LFA, got a finish against Muhammad Juma, and had to go through some adversity, got poked in the eye intentionally, fish hooked. But I think that's just the issue I have with these shows, is in the aspect of what you do in the cage is more important than, I guess, your overall body of work and how talented you can be. And maybe that's why the Contender Series is a little bit better, because the potential of handing out multiple contracts is huge, whereas this is one contract, and if you have an insane highlight reel KO, you're pretty much getting that contract from the panelists, and of course the online poll is going to vote for you, where we're not looking at maybe the best fighter per se, but hey, I do like that they're investing in talent, but these shows do have their flaws in them, but I think the welterweights should bring it tonight here on the PFL Challengers Series 2. Like I said, definitely look out for that Delano Taylor, Mark Martin fight. I think those are two real good prospects at 170 pounds. Moving on to the UFC, which is tomorrow night. I know weigh-ins are probably just about to begin, but man, what a crazy main event that we got now. Islam Makachev taking on Bobby Green. Yes, it's a catch weight at 160 pounds due to Green's quick turnaround, but this fight really excites me. I mean, Makachev 21-1 taking on Bobby Green, who, it's kind of funny. John Anik was like a couple weeks ago, I'd love to see him in a main event. Well, now look at him. He's in a main event. I don't think we thought it'd be as soon, but Bobby Green stepping in here for the injured Beneil Dariush. And I think look for him to have, the best performance we've seen of the Bobby Green. I think Bobby Green's got a good chance of winning this fight. I don't know if he will, but he's got a chance. Like, if he can find a way to keep it on the feet, I think he can outstrike Makhachev, though Makhachev looks to get it on the ground pretty quickly. But I think Green's got underrated grappling and wrestling. So I think Bobby Green can find a way to make this an entertaining fight. And, Green has been saying pretty much Makhachev, boring fighter. That's probably why he hasn't gotten the opportunities. And to an extent, maybe a little bit true of that. And maybe Bobby Green pushes that out of Makhachev and gets Makhachev in a highlight reel level kind of a fight. And, you going the 5 round, potential of 5 rounds, I think will be huge for both guys. And I expect this to be a fantastic fight. The antics of Bobby Green, talking to Makhachev, kind of see how that plays out. How does Makhachev handle that? I think he'll be fine, but I think that's what makes it very interesting in how this one goes. I do give Green a puncher's chance, and I think Green can even win a round, maybe 2 rounds in this fight. So we shall see where it goes. But I think we're all rooting for Bobby Green. This is Bobby Green's time. He's taking advantage of the pandemic level times of MMA. Makhachev, I think Makhachev as well, getting a finish against Bobby Green would be very impressive. It's been a while since we've seen Bobby Green finished inside the octagon. And like Bobby Green hasn't lost since that Dustin Poirier fight back at UFC 199 in June of 2016. So either Green's going to lose this by decision, he's going to win this by decision, but it's very tough to finish Bobby Green. And once again, I can't say how much happy I am to see Bobby Green get an opportunity like this. This is an OG of the sport. I remember Bobby Green since like Affliction 2 days, back then fought Strikeforce, and now coming through the UFC and really being one of the fan favorites in the realm of the Ultimate Fighting Championship, getting rewarded here. Quick turnaround. That old school fighter mentality is huge, and Makhachev probably finds a way to win this fight. I don't know if he gets a finish, though. He has really picked up his submission finishing game in his last 3 fights. Arm triangle against Drew Dober from half guard, rear naked choke against Thiago Moises, and then the first round Kimura against Dan Hooker at UFC 267. So Green obviously wants to keep this on the feet, and we'll see what his ground game can do. It has improved a lot and gotten better. He can wrestle and get out of some tough positions as he has in the past, but this is one of the highest level grapplers that Green will have ever fought. Arguably one of the greatest grapplers of all time, according to Tapology. One of the best lightweights in the world. A guy that finished according to Tapology, inside the top 10 of the best fighters of 2021. So that's what makes this, I think, a very interesting fight. A guy that can put you away on the ground with anyways, whether it's arm bars, triangle chokes, rear naked chokes, wherever it may be. Once that fight hits the ground, Green is in the realm of what Makachev can do. So I think it's going to be an interesting fight. Obviously, the Dariush fight probably gets Makhachev that much closer to a title fight, but in a way, I think beating Green would as well, considering how tough and durable Bobby Green is. And then when you look at this card, these are sleeper fun shows. They don't have maybe a lot of that name value on them, but they have some very interesting fights ahead of them. Obviously, Misha Serkinov's second trip for him at 185 pounds. I don't think the cut for him the last time wasn't the best, making the trip down to 185 pounds, but did lose a split decision to Krzysztof Jotko back in October, and taking on here Wellington Turman here at 17 wins, 5 defeats. And Turman's last fight is a split decision win against Sam Alvey. I don't know if that says a lot about him, and snapped a 2-fight losing streak to both Bruno Silva and Andrew Sanchez. I think Serkinov, if he's got the weight all together here, I think this is a good weight class for him. And if you want to talk about getting the fight to the ground, I think that's the realm of what Serkinov can do. When you look at Turman, yeah, he's got 7 of his 17 wins are submissions, but I think Serkinov, he's a little bit more crafty, cagey, like a guy that's got a Peruvian necktie finish with him in the UFC, arm triangles, submissions, arm bars, but as well, I think maybe the grappling kind of cancels each other out, and I would lean the striking a little bit here more in Serkinov. And I think we're all just seeing and rooting for Serkinov here to come through and come away with a big win. Guy hasn't had that win since that crazy Peruvian necktie against Jimmy Crute back in Vancouver in September of 2019. Pivotal fight for both guys, too, as they're trying to advance themselves here in the middleweight rankings. Jeon Kim taking on Priscilla Cachoeira. Cachoeira, of course, we all remember the last time she fought back at UFC 269, where as she was getting choked out by Jillian Robertson, she poked Robertson in the eye intentionally. Kind of surprised that the UFC brings her back, but maybe this is the one time. See what you can do. Prove yourself here against Jeon Kim. Kim, the South Korean, she's looking for a big win. Hasn't won since UFC 243, where she beat Nadia Kassem and lost 2 in a row to Molly McCann and Alexa Grasso. But those are fights that go the distance, and she's shown signs of what she can do, but she's looking for a finish where she had that finish at UFC 243. It's a really do or die fight for both ladies here, in Cachoeira, I think, in particular. But whoever loses this may be on the cutting block. UFC seems like they're starting to get a lot of fighters cut and out of the UFC. So it's going to be a very pivotal fight for both ladies here. when you look at this card as well, some good prospects on here. I think the Armin Tuskurian fight against Joel Alvarez, that's a real good fight at lightweight. Probably could be fight of the night on this card with just how their styles are. Chesarian comes in here with a devastating left hook and ground and pound against Christos Zagos in his last fight. And, fought some good competition here in the UFC. But Joel Alvarez is a guy that I think we're all really infatuated with, especially with how he's rolled on, submissions, TKOs, and a standing TKO against Thiago Moises his last time out. So I think this one, that should be just fireworks, a good stand-up, bang-out fight. Ignacio Bahamondes returns against Zhu Rong. Bahamondes coming off that insane spinning wheel back kick against Roosevelt Roberts with 5 seconds left in the fight to get it. Armin Petrosian, Gregory Rodriguez, the former LFA middleweight champion, and then hopped right into the UFC a week later and got a decision victory over Dusko Todorovic, and has been spending a lot of time as well. We remember that crazy fight he had as well against the Iron Turtle in Jeonneung Park. But since then, he's been doing a lot of high-level grappling at that, UFC Fight Pass invitational that we saw at the end of the year with Team LFA. He's got, had a draw and then a decision win against Cody Steele, who's one of the best, grapplers going today that's just transitioning into the realm of mixed martial arts. And, Rodriguez, known as RoboCop, when you look at what he's done, he's got 4 submission wins, but more known as a striker. And when he's taking on here Armin Petrosian, coming in, the Armenian, making his UFC debut after winning a contract on the Contender Series. And this guy just knows nothing other than finishing fights, early first round or in the second round. Devastating striker coming in here. Pretty much all his fights have either been finished. He's either finished or the lone loss, he ended up getting finished. So very high level striker. And I think this one finds a way of staying on the feet. And this one could definitely be a sleeper fight of the night as well between Rodriguez and Petrosian. And as well, Terence McKinney. I'm very excited to see Terence McKinney return to the UFC after that 7-second UFC debut win over Matt the Steamroller Favola. McKinney had a 2021 to just dream of for most fighters, where he fought 4 times in 2021, and 3 of those 4 finishes didn't even last 30 seconds. He had a 16-second KO, a 17-second KO, and then the Favola 7-second KO. And before that, his longest fight of 2021 went 1 minute and 12 seconds against Michael Ortiz in the LFA, where he was getting that momentum, jumped on in, had an appearance, and just seeing a fighter grow where, he lost by flying knee to Sean Woodson on the Contender Series and just become a totally different fighter, a much more exciting fighter. I don't think this one lasts 7 seconds, but it can definitely find a way to just be a good fight that goes within the first round, at least, as he's taking on here Faraz Ziam, the Frenchman, who's, picked up 2 wins in a row here in the UFC after losing to the Magic Man Don Madge, all decisions. One of them was, one's a unanimous, one's a majority decision. A guy that can obviously have a gas tank and wants to put the fight towards the ground, kind of showcase some of what he can do on the ground. The majority of his wins have come by way of submission, and as well can show the gas tank. But you don't want to try to play it on the feet with just how much power and high-level striking that Terence McKinney has. And I guess, I think we want to see what McKinney can do with a fight that goes a little bit longer in duration. So that's really what I think excites me on this UFC card. A little bit of a sleeper good one as we head into next weekend with a pay-per-view going on, UFC 270. Colby Covington, Jorge Masvidal. The press conference for that one's just going to be insane. The build to that one going to be insane. And, then we're still just putting their pedal to the metal down are the UFC. March coming up with shows in London, England, and then their first show, first fight night show out of the Apex since the start of the pandemic. And, all those restrictions loosening up. that's a great thing to see, not only just for the UFC, but other promotions as well. People getting to tour, travel, showcase many things. I think that's a great sign to see that these restrictions have come through, and especially for other promotions like here in Canada. Like, that's great because I know LFA, the Fight League Atlantic, they've getting their restrictions out east lifted by the 21st of March. LFA's already got 2 shows booked for Moncton, New Brunswick, April 30th and June 11th. Looking for a date and I guess a location for their 5th show as a promotion at some point. Probably maybe August, September is when they're looking, as they're kind of doing those quick turnaround shows. But they're doing some big shows. Unified has a show coming up in a week's time with a pretty good card on that show as well. The return of Ryan Ford, the super lightweight title on the line. Shane Campbell against Kyle Prepolek. That's just a fantastic fight, that card. KB Buller returning on there, and he's trying to find his way back to the UFC. There's just so much action going on. I mean, you look at that as well. Look at this LFA card going on tonight. The vacant strawweight championship on the line. Jacqueline Amorium taking on Loveth Young. I think that should be a real good, exciting fight. Look out for Solomon Renfro as well. I think Solomon Renfro probably thought he had a decision going his way. Probably should have gone his way when he fought Johnny Parsons on the Contender Series. Lost the split decision, but he's taking on Adam Fugit tonight here at the LFA. In pretty much Renfro's backyard, as he is like a native of Western New York, coming out of Buffalo, New York. This is in Seneca, New York, so not too far away from that. So Renfro's bringing a lot of friends, family, and I think this is a guy to really keep your eye on. A very entertaining character. Can fight 8-2 as a pro, and his only losses are that controversial one in the Contender Series, and he was rear naked choked by Mike Malott, who is now fighting in April in the UFC at UFC 273 against Mickey Gall. So the competition that he's lost to is nothing really to sneeze at as well. And you know what? LFA, they've got a big schedule coming up for them with 2 shows in Brazil in March, and as well returning to Los Angeles, California. KSW also this weekend. The heavyweight title is on the line. Phil DeFries takes on Darko Stosic. Phil DeFries' story is unbelievable. A guy that was in the UFC, then got severe depression. It's gotten over that, thankfully. And one of the first fighters that's really open talking about mental health issues, and has been just a star and a stud for KSW since becoming the heavyweight champion for them. When did he win the title? Like back in 2017, 2018. 2018. So he's had a number of successful title defenses, and it's it's an interesting fight to see what he can do here against another opponent in Stosic coming on in here, who's now, since he has exited the UFC, has picked up a 3-fight win streak here in KSW, earns that opportunity. And those KSW shows, of course, are always fantastic, amazing production value, and amazing fights as well that usually partake in them, getting to showcase the best of not only just Poland, but as well some of those European fighters from Austria and Germany coming on through. So it's a crazy weekend of MMA. And if you think this weekend's crazy, next weekend, especially the Friday, is unbelievable with the amount of fights on. Like I said, if you just look at what alone is on UFC Fight Pass coming up next Friday, we already mentioned that Unified show at 10 p.m. There's a Titan FC show on that card as well, as they had to move that show back 3 weeks, and the time is near. When you look at what's coming up, as well, as I said, let's take a look at that Friday for next week. It's a busy week already for Fight Pass with a UAE Warriors showing on now. There's the UWE show from Mexico, then of course that LFA show, another UAE Warriors show, a Fight Club Rush show from Sweden, then of course Sunday there's a Fury FC show where their heavyweight title is on the line. But then next Friday is just insane. There's as I said, Titan FC, CES returns for their first show of 2022. Cage Warriors first show, and first show of the year is stateside from San Diego. The debut of Tough Enough on UFC Fight Pass, that unified show, and then another show from Mexico in Budo Cento Championship. Plus, as well, you've got UFC 272, and then we have the following week, we've got a show Thursday with Aries from France, and then Battlefield. So if you don't have a Fight Pass subscription, definitely I think you want to sign up for that to see the best of the regional, best MMA from around the world, and of course all the great original content that they have. But I feel like I've gone on a little bit long enough. Definitely, if you like these videos, definitely like, rate, and subscribe to this, as I try to do a stream every week, kind of teeing up the week that is in MMA, as we head into some very busy times in the realm of mixed martial arts. So with that, I'm Jason Hagholm. Peace out and enjoy the fights this weekend.